What is going on, everybody? It is Jason, joined by Benji. Watching this episode, he went down to the courthouse and he said, "You know what? I'm changing my name to Benji Orlando." And you guys, my new co-host is Benji. How are you doing today, Benji?
Don't call me Benji.
I will call you Benji.
I love the dance that you were doing.
Benji, and Benji was his name. Oh,
I like the dance that you were doing off air.
Thanks, man. I like our theme song.
You were doing this little robot dance. It was cute, as my aunt would say. Oh, that's cute. But Jason, how you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. Another day, another dollar.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, things all good in the homestead?
Yeah.
Okay,
today, right now they are.
Oh, okay. Well, it's what, day by day?
Yeah, it's all you can really ask for, John. It's all you can ask for.
Like the old sitcom, one day at a time.
Right?
Right. All right.
So, man, what have you been up to?
Me? Well, I have had a lot of projects going on. As I told you off air, I had every intention today of going to a great comic book convention that I go to every year. I couldn't go yesterday. I was going to go today. It's called Space, the Small Press and Alternative Comics Expo. It's all about indie comic book creators meeting here in Columbus, Ohio. I had every intention of going, and then I woke up this morning to a bathroom sink that was leaking profusely. And so that took up most of my afternoon fixing. And then I scuttled on over to my girlfriend's house to help her with a project as well, building a shed. So I have been like this old house today. I mean, kind of like a younger Bob Vila, if you will.
Nice, man. That is a lot of adulting for one day. I don't recommend that to anybody out there.
I was very bummed that I didn't get to go to Space because it's some people that I know were going to be there, so it was going to be a good reunion, a good chance to chew the fat a little bit, as they say, and find out what people got going on. But hey, man, it is what it is, you know. Adulting stinks sometimes.
It does, man. And you know what I learned today, John? I learned that redial wasn't a thing until I was like 8 years old. I always thought redialing had been around for so long, but redialing like came into the 90s and then it like left in the 90s with the cell phone. So redialing had a very short like lifespan.
Well, I think it's because you had to have push button phones. I don't think rotary phones had any redial function. So it all had to be the push button cordless phones that have redial, which plays right into our episode for this week on Mattalk. So Jason, do you want to just go ahead and jump on into it?
Not yet, John. I want to again recommend the show Elsbeth to our audience. Guys, after 4 episodes, it is 1, the best reviewed show of the year so far. 2, it was renewed after 4 episodes. This is a throwback to the kind of shows that John and I are talking about every week when we do this show. Guys, go check it out. If you like Columbo, I promise you're going to like Elsbeth. I promise you. She is just as quirky, and it's a throwback show. Like I wish like instead of making a show where they called it Matlock, even though it's not a Matlock reboot, we've talked about this, kind of just wish they'd just make a show about a Southern lawyer and just have it kind of be like a spiritual like successor to Matlock without actually calling it or making it a reboot. And that's what Elsbeth feels like. It feels like a spiritual successor to all of that shows that we followed growing up. So guys, go check it out. It's good. It's a very, very good procedural show.
Okay, so you got I knew you were going to get hit up one more time, Elsbeth. I knew it. And that's fine because I have nothing to talk about in terms of what I've been watching because it's NHL Stanley Cup playoff time. So I'm watching tons of hockey. So that's all I've been watching. Don't just because you're not a sports guy doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the greatest sport of them all, hockey. So anyways, with that being said, Jason, you want to jump right on into it?
I mean, to be fair, man, hockey is more entertaining than golf.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. 100%. Golf, not a big fan of golf. Hopefully,
I went to a hockey game and I had fun this year. Like,
I know
I was rooting for the wrong team, but I was having fun.
Yeah, No, technically he rooted for the right team. More on that later, ladies and gentlemen. But
I was rooting for the winner.
Yeah,
I just thought we were the ones winning.
I love the fact that you just was like, I'm gonna root for the guys in white. Yeah, that's it.
They were in red too. I was rooting for the Mighty Ducks colors from Mighty Ducks 2 because Max and I made an analogy before the game started and it just stuck in my head.
Okay. All right.
Is that right? No, I rooted for the black team, didn't I? I don't remember. Anyway.
You don't recall. That's all right. It was a while ago. That's fine. You enjoyed it. And so therefore you could give me some credence in what I've said, that it's cool to watch hockey.
It's fine. Yeah. Plus I got free pizza.
Well.
Thanks to Justin.
All right, with that then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get in on our open. Let's try that again. I know I could say it, folks. With that, let's get into our opening statements. Now that I can talk. Hey, the episode this week is called The Madam and originally aired on October 2nd, 1990. Before we go any further, I was so stoked when I pulled this DVD out from the DVD collection and I saw The Madam, because you know why, Jason? I was stoked.
Why is that?
I was stoked because I knew we were going to get Giddy Ben.
Awkward Ben.
Awkward Ben, as we talk about all the time. Ben has this kind of juvenile naivete when it comes to sexual things. And, well, a madam running a brothel and hanging around prostitutes is pretty giddy for old Ben. All right, let's talk about some guest stars. And ladies and gentlemen, I talked about it on the last episode, and I was right. Last episode, I said that Ben should have been saved by Punch and John from Chips. And guess who's on this episode? None other than Robert Pine will be playing the role of State Senator Jeffrey Paul. And as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, he is Sergeant Joseph Getritter on Chips. He also, though, has played other roles such as Captain Wentworth in Lakeview Terrace, Danny on the new Magnum PI, Buddy on Finding Carter, Gerald Halpert on The Office. He was the Secretary of Agriculture on 24, and he has over 200 more credentials to his resume, Jason.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and he was Bold and the Beautiful. They love pulling people from soap operas.
Uh-huh. Well, let's move on to another individual here that's one of our guest stars. The gentleman's name is Kip Gilman. He'll be playing the role of Dr. Campbell, which you may also know him from a previous episode of Matlock. That's right. Kip Gilman was the individual. He played the individual, named Sonny Hutton, season 1, episode 10, called The Angel. And Jason, you can't forget this one. I know you can't forget this one because it, of course, was the episode where Angel was a rock star party girl accused of murder, guest starring Jonathan Frakes and our friend Scott Valentine. But he was also Dr. Hank Kaplan on the show Nurses, Dr. Jacob Christmas on Trapper John MD, Dan Zinger in the movie Parker, and he has over 50 other credits to his name. Jason, you're a little settled. I thought you'd be excited about that.
I don't know, John. I don't know.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay, I figured that, the callback to season 1 you'd be stoked about.
Woohoo! Okay. Season 1 of Matlock, though, is rough.
Yeah, there were some bad episodes in that season. Yes, absolutely. All right, well, let's move on and talk about 2 other guest stars. The first one, this guy has quite the name, Noble Willingham. He will be playing the role of Reverend Phelps. You may also know him as Clay Stone in City Slickers 1 and 2. He appeared in several episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, including many of the TV movies. He was also Zebulon Cardoza in the Hudsucker Proxy, John Binford on Home Improvement,
Nice.
Gene on Quantum Leap, General Taylor in Good Morning Vietnam, and over 100 other credits to his name. I'm assuming that John Binford was...
Quantum Leap is a great show. Everybody should check it out. Everybody should check out the new Quantum Leap. I signed a petition today to get it renewed because Quantum Leap, both series, neither one has a proper series finale. And NBC, you gave us a good show with the reboot. Give us a final movie where you wrap up both series. It'll work better when you sell it to syndication because the show will have an ending and people like that more than if you don't.
Well, also, Jason, real quick, I'm assuming that with Mr. Noble Willingham, that he played the role of John Binford. I'm assuming that that is somebody that related to Binford Tools on the show.
I think so. I think that was the president of Binford Tools.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about our last guest star, Elizabeth Grayson.
Hold on.
What?
He was also an Ace Ventura Pet Detective.
Who? Noble Willingham?
Yep.
Okay.
Movie I saw 32 times in the theater.
I know, it's one of your favorites. Let's talk about Elizabeth Grayson as Jamie Ladd. She will also be known as Amanda, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly, Darnew, on the Highlander TV series and Highlander the Raven TV series. I had no idea there was a second Highlander TV series. Did you?
I did not, but hot take. I'm not a fan of anything Highlander. Like
really?
I keep trying to watch the first movie and I'm bored every time, really? So I stop watching it. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna try it again. I keep trying. I mean, eventually Star Trek 1 got to me when I stopped being bored and really enjoyed the movie. So maybe I just gotta build up that Stockholm syndrome with the movie and I'll enjoy it.
Okay. Well, let's go back to talking about Miss Elizabeth Grayson. She was also Jasmine in The Death of the Incredible Hulk. She was Ricky Yeager on Renegade, and she played Melissa in the Steven Seagal epic, Marked for Death.
That's one of the Steven Seagal movies I enjoy. Marked for Death, Hard to Kill, and Above Something, Above the Law,
Above
maybe.
The Law.
Whatever the first three were, I dig. I've never seen Under Siege, and I did like Exit Wounds with DMX. Van Damme's
DMX! Wasn't the famous story that DMX, like, they were shooting a scene, and he ran from one side of the set to the other side of the set, and a gun fell out, and out of somewhere, nobody knew where it came from, but it was DMX's gun, and they were like, what are you doing? Why do you have a gun here?
I don't know that story, man, but
I think that was a story Tom Arnold shared, I believe.
Well, Tom Arnold was in Exit Wound, and he's one of the reasons I like that movie. Him and Anthony Anderson have good chemistry.
Okay. All right. Well, Jason, it's time for me to ask you a question. And that question is this. Are you ready to give an opinion, your opinion, and only your opinion, so help you?
I do. So
then it's time.
Testify!
Time to testify! All right, ladies and gentlemen, the plot of this episode is Ben finds himself defending a madam accused of murdering one of her prostitutes. And with that, as I turn to my notes, I can't believe I just said murdering one of her prostitutes. But nonetheless, opening scene, we see a pile of clothes, the very fancy clothes, no less. A little black book. Somebody calling somebody, perfume, and a spread of cash. Jason, did you ever have a little black book as a younger man, or even currently?
No, and I had one of those handheld electronic devices that stored phone numbers, but for the most part, I just memorized phone numbers, or I wrote them on my hand.
You know what, though? Nowadays, like, I don't know about you, but I used to be really good at remembering phone numbers. And now, due to cell phones, I sometimes have to sit there and go, I don't remember what, like, I can remember my mom's number right off the top, But there's several of them I'm like, I've known them for years, but I got to look them up now. You know what I mean?
I know my mom and dad's number because they haven't changed since I was younger, but I don't know if I could tell you what my daughter's phone number is without my phone.
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we may have a few comments coming in. Make sure that you are hitting us up with your comments, your questions, whatnot. Follow us along on the scroll there with all the contact info for our side projects and where you can get in touch with us. But again, if you're watching this, you're listening to this, give us some comments, man. Chime in. It makes us excited to talk to you. So with that, let's move to a fancy courtyard in a hotel where a red-dressed Janie walks down the stairs and catches all the men's eyes. And Jason, let's be honest. Can you blame them?
Mm-mm.
No. Elizabeth Grayson, a very attractive woman. Beautiful. She's meeting with the good Reverend Phelps, which I was like, wow, that's something. This is going to be a good episode if a reverend's meeting with a hooker. Anyways, Janie ends up, it's revealed after the good Reverend leaves that she was taping the conversation with the Reverend. And then the next scene that we see Janie booking an appointment for Wednesday at 7 p.m. Who was that with? That was with, of course, Jeffrey Paul, the state senator. And so Jeffrey and Janie are in bed. And they basically, Janie wants Jeffrey to like stand up to the madam. Her name is Anne, by the way. And kind of like tell her that, she could go on her own, et cetera, because, she's been kind of going behind the madam's back and like booking other gigs and whatnot. So.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, I'm a senator. I can't do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's sirens going on behind Jason's. And it caught me off guard. I'm sorry. It's a struggle tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little bit of a struggle, not going to lie to you. That's why we want you to chime in. Help us out here. Get us going. Get us back on the right page, so to speak. Anyways, Janie also recorded Jeffrey Paul. And so Jeffrey does finally meet with Madam Anne. And Anne won't budge. She's like, no. She's not leaving, et cetera. All right. And so as Jamie goes back, we go back to her house, right? And this is after the meeting with the madam, who, again, they kind of argued and bickered a little bit, even after Jeffrey had given his 2 cents worth. As Janie undresses, we get a quick shot of her and her kid, we think. I don't know. There was a child in that picture. Jason, did you think, as I did, wow, she's got a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. While in the tub, Janie's killed the most rudimentary way possible. I'm going to plug a hairdryer into the wall and throw it in the bathtub. All right. First of all, couldn't she have stopped it seemed like there was an exorbitant amount of time from when the killer plugs in the hairdryer. She's still saying, oh, no, she's in the bath. No. And he throws it. Like, there just seemed like there could have been like this was a silly way to die. What's your 2 cents worth?
Yeah. I had to watch the episode twice because the first time I missed the hairdryer getting plugged in. So I didn't just miss that, but I watched the episode twice and I was glad it was plugged in. But one thing I do like is, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, is that when the body is discovered, they don't run up and, can't contaminate the crime scene like they used to do in the first couple seasons of the show.
Well, in this one, it'd be all wet. It would be gross. It'd be wet with bubble bath and sticky and all that jazz.
At least you're clean. Before people were just like rolling around in the blood and getting DNA everywhere, so that way they could be suspects.
All right. Well, I just thought that this kind of the timing was like, she could have gotten out of that bathtub, and then you know what I mean. Like if I was right, she could have gotten out of the bathtub. And then maybe the killer could have strangled her or something like that. But it just seemed like she just waited around for the killer to throw the hair dryer in the bathtub.
Mm.
All right. Meanwhile, Anne is frantically trying to call Janie. Why? She wants to patch things up. Anne is rocking some amazing shoulder pads, by the way. And what do you know? Anne discovers the body. So, and then some dude randomly shows up. And I felt like that was not a necessary scene there. What do you say?
I mean, she has to be caught by the body. So it was there for that reason.
I guess, but I don't know. I thought that could have been worked out a little better.
I didn't notice it. I was just so relieved that she didn't like jump in and start swimming around with the body and just like taking selfies.
Well, dude, they barely understand the concept of redial, let alone.
Okay, well, fine. Polaroids. People do that with Polaroid cameras back in the day.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture. All right. Well, we go to police headquarters, and Ben is talking to Anne, and they're talking about this tape, that supposedly, or tapes, I guess you could say plural, that apparently Janie has. All right. And I wrote down, is Anne putting the moves on him? Anne is putting the moves on Ben Matlock.
Yeah, she is.
How would Julie feel?
And she is not even subtle about it.
No, she is not.
Apparently, Julie doesn't exist because not one person mentions Julie.
I know. Like, I thought there's a scene. Let's go ahead and talk about it. There's a scene a little bit later with Miss Hawkins and Michelle, and it's like, nobody wants to bring up and go, hey, Julie March.
Yeah, Ben's kind of seeing this girl, and then the hot dog guy on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anyways, he gets very giddy, and he gets all flustered and nervous and whatnot. So basically, Ben and Conrad, they take a tour of Janie's apartment, and Tom, the superintendent, is there, and he interrupts Tom and Conrad, and he reveals pretty much nothing. He's like, I don't know. But we find out he wasn't the superintendent. No. He has the tape. So off he speeds, and Conrad tries to catch him, but to no avail. So
you said something very important in all of this, John. You said the names Michelle, Conrad, and Ben. Yes, folks, we're 3 episodes into the season, and all 3 have had all 3 people.
I just was going to ask Justin, do we have any comments or anything at this time? Nope, no dice. Okay. All right, just checking. All right, let's introduce Dr. Campbell. He is a gentleman that is like a psychologist that has his own radio show. Frasier. Anyways, Dr. C, he's interviewed by Michelle, and he basically talks about that his wife is out of town. She's a Broadway performer. She's out on tour all the time. And so Michelle wants some information about whom he was talking to, he being Dr. Campbell. And he says, sorry, I can't do that. That's confidentiality. I can't break that. So we cut to a scene where Anne shows up at Ben's house and meets Ms. Hawkins. This woman she just doesn't give up, does she?
No. She is all about Ben in this episode.
Yeah. So anyways, Judge Harris. I'm sorry. I was reading my notes. I couldn't figure out what I wrote down here. It's mentioned that Judge Harris is a client, and that makes Ben giddy because he knows Judge Harris, And my question is, do you think Judge Harris, fools around with the robe on or not?
Didn't Conrad, or is it Ben, that said he should be more happy than?
Yeah, it was Conrad. He's like, yeah, he should be happier since he's getting it all the time. Yeah. Anyways, we find out that Tom, the supposed superintendent, was actually a stooge for the state senator so he could get the tape back. And actually, I think his name was Mark. So Ben meets with a state senator, and Jeffrey Paul gives the tape to Ben. Jeffrey plays the tape, and there's something the Reverend has to do something, or has done something to Janie's sister, and has something to do with her death, I should say. All right.
Allegedly.
So,
Allegedly
has something to do with her death. Ben interviews the Reverend, and once again, Anne is at Ben's house. They talk about Janie's sister, and basically Janie's sister has passed on. And then it's massage time.
And she starts taking off his shirt. I'm like, what is happening in this episode of Matlock?
I wrote down in capital letters, Anne, stop it. Stop it. You home wrecker. Which, I mean, Ben didn't really say no, so I guess he's equally his fault.
Maybe they broke up. Is Julie in more episodes?
I don't know. She is, yeah. I know there's a couple more that she's in. Anyways, Ben lets Anne down easy, but to no avail, because she says, I like you, Ben. And she puts the moves on Ben some more. So we cut to a scene where Michelle meets with a gentleman named Mr. Sinclair regarding his appointment with Dr. Campbell. He's the guy that was on the phone at the night of the murder. He was the one that was talking to Dr. Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And Sinclair kind of gives an alibi for the doctor. He's like, well, he was on the phone with me around 6:30. We were on the phone for a while, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So Ben and Conrad, they're going over the case when he gets a gift. A gift arrives at the door. And so Ben opens them, and they are silk pajamas from Anne. And she leaves a note that she has an exact same pair as well.
She should reunite them together. Man, she's not subtle. Like, she is coming on to Ben so hard. No,
she should just be like trench coat, naked at the front door. Knock, knock, knock. I mean, she might as well at this point. I love that Conrad just so wants to make fun. And Ben's like very grumpy. In fact, Ben says, and I quote, "You tell anyone, I'll kill you." Oh, man. So we cut to a scene where Ben watches a mystery man outside Janie's apartment. So he calls Bob Brooks for backup, and he goes inside. And we find out that mystery man is Reverend Phelps. Reverend Phelps is packing things up. And Jason, are you ready for maybe what was the biggest twist that I have seen in a Matlock episode in some time?
Sure.
We find out that Reverend Phelps is the father of Janie Ladd. Anyways, and basically, so that he mentions to Ben, he spills the beans. He's like, look, I was a drunk. I was abusive. My wife had to get a restraining order against me. My kids had nothing to do with me. Janie's sister killed herself. It was all my fault. And over the last, few years, I've managed to put my life together, and I'm here as a man of God, et cetera, et cetera. And Bob Brooks shows up, but to no reason. It's a false alarm. And so we find out that, the Reverend was the dad to Janie. I mean, that was a twist. I didn't anticipate. What say you?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, geez, oy, that's a fall from grace. And to boot, I think they mentioned you want to. Hey, Dad, you want to talk to me? 300 on the table. That's it. I mean, that's cold-hearted.
I mean, time is money, my friend. Time is money. If I was making $300 an hour, you best believe somebody's paying me if we got to talk. And I don't want to talk to you.
I'd have to give you $300 to be on Mattalk?
No, I like you. I'm saying if I didn't like you.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank goodness you like me. Hey, we might like you too. In fact, we would like you to send us an email and let us know what you think about this episode. Jason, where can folks do that?
You guys can email us, benmattalk@gmail.com. Put Benji in the subject line and let me know what's up.
Don't put Benji in the subject line. Anyways, Let's meet a gentleman named Mr. Ginsburg. All right. Now, Mr. Ginsburg was interviewed by Michelle. He is like the station manager, and he reveals that Dr. Campbell did his show, but left right after because he was sick. And even Mr. Ginsburg claims that he checked in on him a couple of times. So Bob Brooks and Ben, they talk at Janie's apartment, and Ben goes to use the phone. And he hits the redial button to see who called last. And it appears he did it on accident. But this will be the final clue that Ben needs to be victorious in the courtroom. We cut to the courtroom. Ben is questioning Dr. Campbell on the stand. And basically, it's revealed that Dr. Campbell was having a fling with Janie. And Matlock mentions, hey, man, wouldn't that be something that if your listeners, the folks who rely on you for your help in their troubled times, well, how would they feel if they knew that you were banging a prostitute, that you were cheating on your wife with a prostitute? How would they feel? It would hurt your business, wouldn't you? Jason, what do you think so far of this line of questioning?
Yeah, definitely hurt his business. And good, you get him, Ben. Get him.
Yeah.
Get him, Benji.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if we talked about this because I think it happened already, but Benji is the nickname that Anne gives Ben. It was after massage time, actually, and he was like, don't call me Benji, right? So I wouldn't appreciate that either. So we're going back to the courtroom here. Dr. Campbell left after his show due to his illness. The alibi was that Dr. Campbell was on the phone with Sinclair, but then Ginsburg had called many times, 3 times as a matter of fact, at about 10-minute intervals, and there was no answer. He was calling to check in on the good doctor. So Dr. C called Sinclair from Janie's home phone because Sinclair's number was the last number dialed in the redial button. And again, as he dials the number, the redial number, Sinclair's answering machine picks up. And again, since it's local calls only, there is no direct record of who called who. I call BS on that. I don't think that was a thing back in 1990. Jason, are you with me on that one?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I know that they definitely kept track of long distance calls because they used to really get you with those. But as far as local calls, I don't know. I was 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I was young too. I don't know. I was
37.
Older. I was 37 actually. Yeah, I was always griping about the phone bill. Like, you darn kids, get off the phone. Stop calling parts unknown. Anyways, yeah, I just felt like that was something that they could look back in and get records from because they pull lugs all the time in other cop shows in the 1990s. I would just think that, anyways. Okay.
Later 90s though.
Well, no, it's 1990.
I know, I meant later. Maybe? I don't know. We should fact check that.
I'll let you do that. While you do that, I'll wrap up with our last couple of notes here. Anne kisses Ben as she's excited that she got off. And then this little joke was very, very funny. A bientôt, which is a French word for see you later. And Ben said a bientôt to her, to Anne, and then tells Michelle that it means the check's in the mail. No, that's not correct, Ben. But nonetheless, one final chuckle for the episode known as the Madam. So Jason's hard at work trying to solve the mystery of if there was local calls that you could trace in 1990. And while he's doing that, Justin, just going to see, is there anybody... No comments? All right, no comments. Ladies and gentlemen, you go ahead and throw them in here. If you got something to say, join us. All right, Jason, what have you found out?
I found out nothing, John.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's table that for later. We'll come back to that, shall we? As to whether local calls could be pulled for evidence in a homicide, so to speak. So, Jason, is there anything else that you want to talk about real quick, or shall we throw it to our closing statements?
I'm trying to think. Like I said, I just can't believe Redial is what did this guy in. And I just found that all fascinating. Like, you see this little button here? Do you know what it does? I can't read it. Check my glasses. But do you know what this does? It calls the number that was last called. So I'm going to call this number. Oh, wait. You called from her place. Darn. But is that even, again, this isn't going to take away from my enjoyment of this episode. But can you even use that as evidence? Because technically, Ben could have dialed that number when he went into the other room and then hit redial, and the client would be free. But, again, it was a cool move. I dug it. And, yeah, I'm just surprised that redial was so new in the 90s. Like, I had no idea.
All right. Well, with that, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our closing statements.
This is the part of the podcast where John and I will rate the show on a gavel system. 5 gavels means we absolutely loved it. Negative 37 gavels means that we are going to become hobos in Atlanta. John, how do you rate this episode?
Wait a minute. We were hobos last week. Now we're going to be homos again this time?
Yeah, we're somewhere else, though.
Oh, okay.
We didn't do Mattalk last week either. So you must have
I meant last time, 2 weeks ago. All right.
Not your dream.
Huh?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll let that one pass. I gave this a 5. I really liked this episode. I thought Anna and Ben, like, that was worth a few chuckles. Janie, wow, what a great performance, even though she was not in the episode very long, but just she carried herself as I would say that she carried herself much like a prostitute. Like, I felt like she had the roll down pat. I thought the plot was really good. We have this tape. We don't want it to get out. I agree with you. I think the solution was way too easy. That, Redial did this guy in. I thought the same thing. I thought it was kind of cheesy and way too easy for Ben to get a victory. But overall, I really liked it. I give it 5 gavels.
You know what? I was going to give it a 4.5, but I'm going to give it a 5 as well, because you're right. This was a good episode. It was funny, a little bit lighthearted off of the seriousness of the previous episode. And I really like Matlock seasons 4 and 5 so far. Like, it's really good television. Making Andy Griffith a story supervisor is the best thing that ever happened to the show.
Well, and then, you know what, we got to give credit too. And I know we haven't always given credit to the director, but this is another Leo Penn directed episode. And so, again, I think if we go back and looked at the directors of these episodes, that I bet that they have a heavy hand in whether they are top notch or not. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know who else
is. John and I, we did like the first 3 seasons, most of the episodes, obviously. But what's fascinating to me is that seasons 4 and 5 so far have been the best written and probably overall the best entertaining. But for some reason, you only hear about the episodes from season 1, like The Judge, The Sisters, and there's a few others. Like, guys, we need sleeping on season 4 and 5 so far. And even 3 was a huge step forward in the storytelling. But this show is just so good now. Like, I just can't emphasize enough like how good this show was. I am just digging it. And like I said, I dug the stuff before too. It's almost, don't want to say it's a different show, but just the writing is so much better.
Well, you know what? I'm looking up real quick to see Leo Penn's credits, and he's a heavy hitter. 27 episodes of Matlock, 9 episodes of In the Heat of the Night, a couple of episodes of Diagnosis Murder, Columbo, about 3 episodes of the original Magnum PI, 9 episodes of Trapper John MD, 3 episodes of St. Elsewhere. So, I mean, I think maybe, again, I'm not dogging the other directors by any stretch of the imagination. I just know Leo Penn is probably the most notable beings that he has that resume. So I don't know. Yeah, season 5 is off and running just as smoothly as 4 and even 3. But with that, Jason, let's talk a little bit about our own podcasting project. So what's going on with the 3 Geeks podcast?
I was looking up an email for Leo Penn. I found out he passed away in 98. Rest in peace, sir. 3 Geeks podcast. You guys can find us live every Saturday at 7 p.m. I am doing 5 interviews this upcoming week, and you're going to enjoy all of those very, 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 very soon. And I'm actually doing a live interview Tuesday at 8, I believe, is the time for it. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely come hang out with me at 3 Geeks J, at 3 Geeks Podcast. You guys can follow our producer down below. He checks his social media about as much as my grandfather does, which is once every year. So, guys, go check that out. John, what about you?
Well, the PVD Cast is my own personal podcasting project. It's available. The spoiler alert, don't add me. That's from Justin, ladies and gentlemen. You can add me. Absolutely. You can add Jason. He loves it. And but not Justin. No. He wants to be the mysterious man behind the curtain. Anyways, pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts, give it a listen. My NHL preview 2 weeks ago is up there if you want my 2 cents worth on who I think's winning the Stanley Cup. This past week, Frank James Bailey is a comic book writer, and he returned for another appearance to talk about his new project, Olivia, the Mighty Kraken. So check that out. That's all I got, man.
Dude, that you and that guy message each other a lot, because I'm on the PVD Facebook, and there's a lot of messages that come in.
Yeah, Frank was very, very excited to come on this time because of this new project, and definitely check it out. I mean, the episode and his projects. He's got a couple different things that's out there. Olivia, the Mighty Kraken. He's got Turkana, which is a family-friendly comic book, superhero comic book. So check him out, definitely. All right, with that, then, Jason, shall we get on out of here, man?
We shall, John. Everybody out there, stay classy, enjoy each other, and have a great day.
And as they say in church, what? What did I just say? As they say in court, nothing further.